The glass shatters before anyone hears it fall. Crystal explodes across white marble like stars dying mid-flight, and the entire restaurant stops breathing. Forks freeze halfway to mouths. Conversations choke in throats. Even the kitchen goes silent behind its swinging doors. Amara Brooks stands there, empty tray trembling in her hands, staring at the wreckage spreading across the floor like guilt made visible. Her red apron hangs loose over a white blouse too thin for November. The fabric clings to her ribs, not from style, but from too many meals skipped to pay rent. Her hands are cracked at the knuckles, dry from dish soap and double shifts. Dark circles shadow her eyes, the kind that come from working 3 jobs and sleeping 4 hours a night. She doesn't look up yet. She already knows what she'll see. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Bella Vista Ristorante smells like old money and fresh bread. Pendant lamps glow warm overhead, casting gold across leather booths and framed black and white photos of Milano in the 50s. The kind of place where silverware costs more than her weekly paycheck. Where men in $1,000 suits drink wine that could cover her father's medical bills. Where girls like her are supposed to stay invisible. Careful, sweetheart. The voice slides across the room like smoke, low and unhurried. It doesn't need volume to command. Amara's eyes lift. He sits in the back corner booth, the one they never put on reservation lists. The one that's always held for walk-ins who arrive in black cars with tinted windows. His suit is darker than the leather behind him, tailored so perfectly it looks painted on. A tattoo curves up his neck, something sharp and deliberate like barbed wire or a crown of thorns. His hands rest flat on the table, rings catching light. Dante Moreau. She's heard the name whispered in the kitchen, heard it muttered by the manager who goes pale whenever that booth gets occupied. Heard it from the other waitresses who suddenly remember they need smoke breaks when his party arrives. He doesn't look angry. That's the worst part. He looks amused. You can't afford to break what you can't pay for, Dante says, his words wrapped in velvet and threat. His eyes never leave her face. They're the color of winter, cold, gray, unreadable. The men around him laugh. Not loud, just enough to remind her she's the punchline. Amara's jaw tightens. Her spine straightens by an inch. It's the only rebellion she can afford. I'm sorry, sir. Her voice comes out steady. Small miracle. She kneels, starts picking up glass with bare hands. A shard bites her thumb. Blood wells up, bright and honest. She doesn't flinch. Behind her, the manager appears like a ghost, his face tight with panic. He mouths something, probably "I'm sorry, Mr. Moreau," probably already calculating how to fire her without seeming cruel. But Dante just waves him off, gaze still locked on Amara. "What's your name?" he asks. She hesitates. Answering feels like stepping into quicksand. "Amara. Amara." He repeats it slowly, testing the weight. Then he leans back, lighting a thin cigar that fills the air with cedar and danger. "You been working here long?" "6 months. You any good at it?" Her hands stop moving. She looks up, still kneeling in broken glass and spilled whiskey. "I don't break things," she says quietly. Usually, one of his men snorts. Dante doesn't. His expression shifts, just barely, into something that might be curiosity or hunger. Hard to tell the difference with men like him. He takes a slow drag, smoke curling upward like a question mark. "Get back to work," he says finally. "Dismissal. Permission. Mercy, maybe." Amara stands, glass clinking in her apron pocket, blood smearing her thumb. She walks toward the kitchen on legs that remember how to move even when her brain goes numb. She doesn't look back, but she feels his eyes follow her all the way through the swinging doors. And somewhere in the storage closet behind the walk-in freezer, wrapped in a towel and hidden under cases of canned tomatoes, her father's violin waits in the dark. It's been 2 years since she touched it. 2 years since the crash that stole his legs and their future. 2 years since music became a language she couldn't afford to speak. But tonight something cracks open inside her chest, and it sounds like strings tuning in the silence. Have you ever been humiliated in front of people who thought they owned the room? Drop a comment. This story's just getting started. Dante Moreau doesn't come to Bella Vista for the food. He comes because the owner owes him, because the back booth has no cameras, because power needs stages, and this restaurant, with its soft lighting and softer staff, makes the perfect theater. Tonight, he's closing a deal, the kind that doesn't get written down. Across from him sits Marcus Chun, a real estate developer with nervous hands and a gambling problem. Next to Marcus, his lawyer pretends to read a contract he's already memorized. Two of Dante's men flank the booth, Isaiah, built like a freight train, and Cole, who smiles too much and never blinks. The properties transfer Friday, Marcus says, pushing papers across the table. His voice shakes just enough to be noticeable. Clean titles. No liens. Dante doesn't touch the papers. He just watches Marcus sweat under his cologne. You said that last month. There were complications. There are always complications with you, Marcus. Dante's tone doesn't rise. Doesn't need to. I'm starting to think you don't respect my time. You don't. I swear I. Then why am I still waiting? The lawyer clears his throat. Fatal mistake. Dante's gaze slides to him like a blade finding flesh. You got something to say, counselor? Just that the delay was due to zoning issues, Mr. Moreau. City Hall, you understand. Red tape. Dante leans forward, elbows on the table. His rings click against wood. Red tape. He says it like a punchline. You think I got where I am by respecting red tape? Silence answers him. Isaiah shifts his weight. Cole's smile widens. Then, from somewhere near the bar, a sound breaks through the tension. Music. Not the usual jazz quartet they hire on weekends. Not recorded background noise piped through hidden speakers. Live. Raw. A single voice calling for attention. We need entertainment. One of the older men at the next table grumbles. What are we paying for? Silence. The manager appears, wringing his hands. Our pianist called in sick, gentlemen. I apologize for the inconvenience. Then get someone else. Another guest snaps. This is supposed to be a 5-star experience. That's when Dante hears it. A voice. Quiet. Female. Coming from near the kitchen doors. I can play. Every head turns. It's her. The girl with the broken glass and the bleeding thumb. She stands there in her faded red apron, arms wrapped around herself like armor. Her eyes meet Dante's for half a heartbeat before dropping to the floor. The manager goes white. Amara, not now. I studied violin, she says louder this time. Her voice cracks, but doesn't break. I can play, if you'd let me. Just for a tip. Laughter ripples through the room. Not cruel yet. Just disbelief. Dante leans back, cigar smoke haloing his head. He studies her the way a jeweler studies a stone. Looking for flaws, for value, for something hidden beneath the surface. You. He lets the word hang in the air. You're a musician? Amar nods. Once. Sharp. And you want to play? For tips. His mouth curves, not quite a smile. In front of all these nice people who just watched you destroy $100 glass. Her jaw sets. Her hands ball into fists at her sides. Yes, sir. The manager tries to intervene. Mr. Moreau, I'm so sorry she's not. Dante raises one finger. The manager stops mid-sentence like a dog hitting an invisible fence. Marcus and his lawyer exchange nervous glances. Isaiah's hand drifts toward his jacket. Cole's smile finally fades. Dante takes a long, deliberate drag of his cigar. Ash falls like snow. Then he gestures toward the small stage near the bar, the one they use for jazz bands on Friday nights. It sits empty now, spotlight dark. Microphones stand waiting like a gallows. All right, Amara. Her name sounds different in his mouth. Show us what you got. The room holds its breath. Amara doesn't move for 3 full seconds. Then she turns and walks toward the kitchen, spine straight, shoulders back. Every eye follows her. Dante watches her disappear through the swinging doors, and something shifts in his expression. Not sympathy, not pity, interest. Marcus leans in, voice dropping to a whisper. You really gonna let some waitress interrupt? Shut up, Marcus. The lawyer closes his briefcase. Message received. Isaiah catches Dante's eye, raises an eyebrow. You sure about this? Dante just smiles. The real kind. The dangerous kind. She's got guts, he murmurs, more to himself than anyone else. Let's see if she's got talent. Behind the kitchen doors, pots clatter. Voices rise and fall. The chef yells something in Italian. And then, silence. The kind that comes before storms. Before earthquakes. Before girls with nothing left to lose decide to burn the world down one note at a time. Would you have done it? Would you have stood up when everyone laughed? Tell us in the comments. The storage closet smells like bleach and regret. Amara shoves past boxes of napkins and industrial-size cans of crushed tomatoes, her breath coming fast and shallow. Her hands shake so badly she can barely grip the door handle. What the hell did she just do? Behind her, through the kitchen, she hears the muffled sounds of the restaurant resetting itself. Silverware clinking. Low conversation resuming. Dante Moreau's laugh, soft, lethal, cutting through it all like a knife through silk. She finds it in the back corner, wrapped in a faded beach towel and tucked behind a case of olive oil. Her father's violin. For a moment, she just stares at it. The case is scuffed, one latch broken, held together with duct tape and prayers. She hasn't opened it since the night of the accident. The night the drunk driver ran the red light. The night her father's legs shattered and their lives splintered into before and after. The night music died in her hands. Her fingers brush the case. It feels warm, somehow, like it's been waiting. Amara. She spins. Marco, the line cook, stands in the doorway, concern creasing his face. You okay, Mija? I'm fine. You don't look fine. You look like you're about to throw up or fight somebody. Both, she thinks. I'm playing. Playing what? She lifts the case. Marco's eyes widen. Oh, hell no. Amara, you can't. Already said I would. Then unsay it. That man out there. Marco lowers his voice, glancing toward the dining room. That's Dante Moreau. You don't play games with him. You don't make promises you can't keep. I can keep it. When's the last time you even touched that thing? The truth sits heavy on her tongue. 2 years. 743 days. She's counted. It doesn't matter, she says instead. It matters if you embarrass him. It matters if you make him look stupid for saying yes. Mija, men like that don't forget. Amara meets his eyes. I don't have a choice, Marco. I already broke his glass. I already opened my mouth. If I walk out there and say never mind? She shakes her head. That's worse. Marco mutters something in Spanish. A prayer, probably. You're either the bravest person I know, he says finally, or the dumbest. Can it be both? Despite everything, he almost smiles. Then he steps aside, making room in the doorway. Go break a leg. Literally, if you have to. Better yours than his. Amara pushes past him, violin case clutched to her chest like a shield. The kitchen is chaos. Chef Antoine barking orders, dishwashers clattering plates, steam rising from pots like industrial fog. Nobody notices her. Or maybe they're all pretending not to. She reaches the swinging doors and stops. Through the circular windows, she can see them. The dining room, full of people who wouldn't spit on her if she was on fire. The stage with its lonely spotlight. The booth in the back where Dante Moreau sits like a king holding court. His eyes are already on the door, waiting. Her thumb throbs where the glass cut it. Blood has soaked through the napkin she wrapped around it. Everything in her body screams to run, to apologize, to disappear. But her father's voice echoes in her head, the way it sounded before the accident, before the pain, before the pills that made him forget who he used to be. Music isn't about being perfect, baby girl. It's about being honest. You play what you feel, and if they don't like it, that's their problem, not yours. Amara closes her eyes, takes one breath, two, then she pushes through the doors. The restaurant doesn't go quiet this time. They're too busy pretending she doesn't exist. Conversations continue. Wine gets poured. Marcus Chin looks at his phone like it's the most fascinating thing in the world. But Dante watches every step she takes. She walks to the stage, climbs the 3 steps, and sets the case down under the spotlight. Her hands fumble with the latches. 1, 2. The third held together with tape that peels away reluctantly. Inside, the violin looks smaller than she remembers. The wood is still beautiful, warm amber, almost gold in the light. But the strings are dull. One of them has a frayed end. The bow needs fresh rosin. There's a crack along the body, hairline thin, that her father superglued back together after she dropped it during practice when she was 12. It's not a Stradivarius. It's not worth thousands. But it's hers. It's his. It's them. She lifts it out, the weight familiar despite the years. Tucks it under her chin. The chin rest is cold against her skin. Someone in the crowd laughs. She actually has a violin. Probably plays Mary Had a Little Lamb. Someone else mutters. $10, says she can't even tune it. Dante doesn't laugh. He lights a fresh cigar, leans back, and crosses his arms. His expression is unreadable. Amara adjusts her grip. The bow feels strange in her hand. Too light, too fragile, too much like holding a weapon she's forgotten how to use. She doesn't look at the crowd, doesn't look at Dante. She closes her eyes, and she plays. The first note comes out broken. What happens next will change everything. The bow drags across the string like a match striking flint. The sound that emerges is sharp, rough, wrong. A note struggling to be born. It cracks in the middle, wavers, almost dies. Someone snickers. Amara's eyes stay closed. Her jaw clenches. Blood from her cut thumb smears the fingerboard, mixing with 2 years of dust. She tries again. This time, the note holds. Barely. It trembles in the air like something afraid to exist. But it exists. Her fingers remember before her brain does. They find the positions. First, third, fifth. Muscle memory rising from wherever it's been sleeping. The bow finds its angle. Her wrist loosens. And then, the third note lands clean. Pure. Perfect. It hangs in the air like a chandelier suddenly lit, and the restaurant shifts. Not obviously. Not all at once. But heads turn. Conversations pause midward. Forks rest against plates. Amara doesn't notice. She's somewhere else now. She's 12 years old in a cramped apartment that smells like coffee and sheet music. Her father sits across from her, his own violin tucked under his chin, eyes closed, smile wide. He's teaching her Vivaldi, the easy parts, the ones that sound harder than they are. Feel it, baby girl. Don't think. Feel. She's 16, auditioning for the youth orchestra. Her hands are sweating. Her heart is hammering. But when she plays, the panel goes quiet. One of them writes something down. Afterward, her father picks her up and spins her around until they're both dizzy and laughing. That's my girl. That's my musician. She's 21, standing in a hospital hallway while a doctor uses words like permanent and disability and chronic pain. Her father's violin sits in a locker at the impound lot with the rest of the car's salvage pieces. When she finally retrieves it, the case is dented but intact. She hasn't opened it since. Until now, the melody builds. It's not Vivaldi anymore. It's not anything she learned in lessons or practice for auditions. It's hunger. It's exhaustion. It's every double shift and skipped meal and night spent wondering if she's strong enough to keep going. It's her father's laugh before the accident. It's his screams after. It's every time someone looked through her like she was glass. Every time she smiled and said, "Yes, sir," and swallowed her pride like poison. It's rage and grief and hope twisted together so tightly they become the same thing. The bow moves faster now. Her fingers dance across the strings. No hesitation, no doubt. The music pours out of her like something that's been trapped too long, something wild and desperate and furious. And the restaurant forgets to breathe. Dante Moreau's cigar burns down to ash in his hand, forgotten. Marcus Chin's phone slips from his fingers and clatters onto the table. The lawyer's mouth hangs open. Isaiah uncrosses his arms. Even Cole stops smiling. At the bar, the bartender stands frozen, bottle tilted, whiskey spilling onto the counter unnoticed. In the kitchen, Marco cracks the door open and stares, tears suddenly blurring his vision. Chef Antoine stops yelling. The dishwashers stop clattering. Everyone crowds around the small windows, watching. Because this isn't background music. This is an ambience. This is a girl splitting herself open and showing everyone what poverty looks like when it learns to sing. The melody climbs higher, faster, more desperate. Amara's arm aches. Her fingers burn. The cut on her thumb reopens, blood mixing with sweat. She doesn't stop. She can't. This is the only language she has left. The only power she's ever owned. And for 3 minutes and 47 seconds, in a restaurant full of people who treat her like furniture, she makes them listen. She makes them see her. The final note stretches long and thin, a wire pulled taut until it's almost breaking. Then it releases a whisper, a sigh, an ending. Silence rushes in to fill the space. Amara opens her eyes. Her chest heaves. Her hands shake so badly the violin nearly slips. Sweat drips down her temple. Blood streaks the strings. For 3 eternal seconds, nothing happens. Then, applause explodes through the dining room like a dam breaking. It's not polite. It's not restrained. People are standing, businessmen, couples, the older woman in pearls who complained about the lack of music. They're clapping, some of them shouting, one man actually whistling. Marco bursts through the kitchen doors, grinning so wide it looks painful, clapping so hard his palms will bruise. But Amara doesn't see any of them. She only sees Dante. He's still seated, still motionless. His cigar is burned down to nothing in the ashtray. His hands rest flat on the table, and he's staring at her like he's seeing a ghost. Not just any ghost, a specific one. His expression, for the first time since she met him, cracks open, just slightly, just enough to show something underneath that might be shock, or recognition, or fear. He stands slowly, deliberately, while everyone else keeps applauding. His eyes never leave her face. Then he speaks, voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "What did you say your name was?" Amara's throat is dry. Her voice comes out hoarse. "Amara Brooks." "Brooks." He repeats it slowly, testing it. Then his jaw tightens. "What's your father's name?" The question hits her like cold water. "What? Answer me." The restaurant goes quiet again. The applause dies. People sense the shift, the tension suddenly thick enough to choke on. Amara lifts her chin. Elijah Brooks. Dante's face goes pale. Actually pale. Like he's been punched in the gut by a memory he's been trying to forget. He's quiet for a long, terrible moment. Then, Elijah Brooks. The violinist. It's not a question. You knew him. Amara's voice shakes. Dante doesn't answer. He just stares at her. And for the first time, she sees something in his eyes that looks almost human. Everything she thought she knew about that night 2 years ago is about to shatter. The spotlight feels hotter now. Or maybe it's just her blood pressure spiking. Dante walks toward the stage. Not fast, not slow. Each step measured, deliberate, like a predator closing distance. The crowd parts without being asked. Amara's grip tightens on the violin's neck. Her instincts scream at her to run, but her legs are concrete. Her pulse hammers in her ears. He stops at the base of the stage, 3 feet below her, but somehow still looking down. "Elijah Brooks played at my wedding," Dante says quietly. His voice carries anyway. The restaurant is that silent. 8 years ago. Small ceremony. Private venue. He refused payment afterward. Amara's breath catches. He said music wasn't meant to be bought. Dante's jaw works. Said it was meant to be shared. I thought he was naive. Stupid even. A pause. I was wrong. You knew my father. It's not a question anymore. It's an accusation. I knew of him. We weren't friends. Dante glances at the violin in her hands. But I remember his playing, and I remember his face. His eyes lift to hers. I see it in yours. The air between them crackles with something electric and awful. The accident, Amara starts. 2 years ago, Dante finishes. I heard. You heard. I hear things. What things? His expression shudders. Whatever humanity flickered there a moment ago disappears behind walls of ice. Things I can't discuss in a room full of people who don't need to know my business. Amara takes a step forward. The stage creaks under her weight. My father can't walk anymore. He can't play. He can barely afford his medication. We lost everything. Our apartment, his teaching position, his students. Everything. Her voice rises despite herself. And you heard. Amara. What did you hear exactly? Enough. That's not an answer. Dante's men shift their weight. Isaiah moves closer. Cole's hand drifts toward his jacket. But Dante raises one finger. They freeze. You want answers? He says it low, dangerous. Then put the violin down and meet me in the back office. away from ears that don't need to hear. Why would I do that? Because if you're Elijah Brooks' daughter, you deserve to know what really happened that night. The world tilts sideways. Amara's mouth goes dry. What do you mean? What really happened? Not here. Tell me now. I said not here. Then I'm not going anywhere with you. Dante smiles. It doesn't reach his eyes. You think you have a choice? He gestures around the restaurant, at his men, at the manager hovering near the bar, at the crowd that's watching this like a play. You think because you played something pretty, you're suddenly safe? Amara's spine straightens. I think because I played something real, you can't pretend you didn't feel it. And I think whatever you know about my father. She steps to the edge of the stage. You've been carrying it like guilt. I can see it in your face. The silence is so complete that somewhere in the kitchen, a pot boiling over sounds like an explosion. Dante stares at her. Really stares. Like he's trying to decide if she's brave or suicidal. Finally, he laughs. Once. Short and sharp. You've got his fire, he says. I'll give you that. Is that a compliment or a threat? Both. He turns to walk away, then pauses. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Come back here. Ask for me specifically. We'll talk. I'm working tomorrow. Not anymore. He doesn't look back. Consider tonight your audition. You passed. You're playing here now. Every night. Real salary. Real tips. And answers if you've got the stomach for them. Amara's heart slams against her ribs. And if I say no, now he does look back. His smile is all teeth. Then you go back to breaking glasses and wondering what happened to your father. Your choice. He walks back to his booth. Marcus and a lawyer are already standing, gathering papers with shaking hands. Dante waves them off like flies. Isaiah catches Amara's eye as he follows his boss. There's something in his expression, not quite warning, not quite sympathy. Maybe respect. Coldest grins. The crowd begins to disperse. Conversations resume. The bartender finally notices the spilled whiskey and starts mopping. Marco appears at the stage, breathless. Mija, what the hell just happened? Amara stares at the violin in her hands, at the blood on the strings, at the crack her father superglued together when she was 12. I don't know, she whispers. But she does know. She knows that 2 years ago, her father's car was hit by a drunk driver. Or so the police said. She knows he survived, but wished he hadn't. She knows their lives collapsed, and no one, not insurance, not the courts, not God himself, did anything to catch them. And now Dante Moreau is saying there's more to the story, which means the accident might not have been an accident at all. Her hands start shaking again, not from fear this time, from rage. Amara, Marco touches her shoulder. You okay? She lowers the violin carefully, placing it back in its battered case with hands that know exactly what they're doing now. No, she says quietly, but I will be. Tomorrow night, she'll walk into the lion's den, and she'll find out exactly what Dante Moreau knows about the night her world ended. Whatever it takes. The envelope is thick enough to choke on. Amara stares at it across the table, hands folded in her lap to keep them from shaking. The back office of Bella Vista smells like leather and cigars and decisions that ruin lives. Dante sits opposite her, perfectly still. No guards this time. No audience. Just him and her, and the truth hanging between them like a noose. Open it, he says. Not until you tell me what's inside. Proof. Of what? His jaw tightens. For a moment, he looks older than his years, tired in a way money can't fix. That your father's accident wasn't an accident. The words land like bullets. Amara's breath stops. The room tilts. What? Dante leans forward, elbows on the desk. His rings catch the lamplight, gold and silver, each one probably worth more than a rent. Elijah Brooks was targeted, he says quietly. The driver who hit him? Paid off. The investigation that went nowhere? Bought. The insurance claim that disappeared. He taps the envelope. All in here. Amara's voice comes out strangled. Why? Because your father saw something he shouldn't have. Heard something. I don't know exactly what. He never told me directly. But 8 years ago, at my wedding, he pulled me aside afterward. Dante's eyes go distant, remembering. Said he knew what kind of man I was. Said he'd seen my associates. Recognized faces from news reports. And he told me he wouldn't say anything. Wouldn't go to the police, wouldn't testify, wouldn't ruin me. He said music connected people, even people on opposite sides of the law. He believed in second chances. Dante's smile is bitter. I thought he was weak, stupid. I forgot about him. Until one of my competitors found out he'd been at my wedding. Thought maybe he'd heard too much. Decided to tie up loose ends. The air leaves Amara's lungs. Ooh. Dante's expression hardens into something cold and final. A man named Sterling Hayes runs operations north of the river. He's careful, connected, and cruel. When he wants someone gone, they disappear. But your father didn't disappear, he survived. So Sterling settled for destroying his life instead. Amara's hands ball into fists. Her nails dig crescents into her palms. You've known this for 2 years. I suspected. I didn't have proof until 6 months ago. Why didn't you tell someone? Police? FBI? Dante laughs. Short, sharp, humorless. You think the FBI cares about a musician who crossed a man like Sterling? You think the police would touch this case when half of them are on his payroll? He shakes his head. There's the law, Amara. And then there's justice. They're not the same thing. So what? You just let him walk free. No. Dante's voice drops to something lethal. I've been dismantling him piece by piece. Quietly. Carefully. His supply chains, his protection networks, his financial backers. I've spent 2 years making sure that when he finally falls, he doesn't get back up. Amara stares at him, torn between gratitude and rage. That doesn't bring my father back. Nothing will. Dante pushes the envelope toward her. But this might give you answers. And a choice. What choice? Whether you want Sterling Hayes to pay in court, where he'll probably walk, or whether you trust me to handle it my way. The weight of that statement settles over the room like smoke. Amara reaches for the envelope with trembling fingers. Inside, she finds documents. Police reports with blacked-out sections, bank transfers, witness statements that were never filed, photos of a driver who hit her father shaking hands with a man in an expensive suit. Sterling Hayes. His face is unremarkable. Average height, average build, the kind of man who blends into crowds and boardrooms. But his eyes, even in a photograph, are empty. He ordered this, Amara whispers. He looked at my father and decided he was disposable. Yes, and you're going to make him pay. I already am. She looks up, eyes burning. Ow! Dante stands, walks to the window overlooking the alley behind the restaurant. His reflection is sharp against the glass. A man shaped by violence trying to carve out something like redemption. By taking everything he loves. His money, his power, his reputation, and when he's got nothing left, Dante turns, and his smile is all teeth. Then I'll take his life. Would you forgive the man trying to avenge your family, even if his hands are already stained with blood? Tell us what you do. 3 weeks pass like a fever dream. Amara plays every night at Bella Vista. The crowds grow, businessmen, tourists, couples celebrating anniversaries. They come for the food and stay for the music. Her tips pile up in a shoebox under her bed. Enough to cover her father's medication. Enough to stop choosing between rent and groceries. But the money feels like blood money. Like she's being paid to forget. She can't forget. Every time Dante walks into the restaurant, she feels it. The weight of what he's doing in the shadows. The dismantling. The revenge. The justice that has no courtroom. He doesn't talk to her much. Just nods when she plays. Leaves an extra 100 in her tip jar some nights. Watches her like he's waiting for her to break or run. She does neither. Instead, she listens. In the kitchen, the staff gossips. Delivery drivers mention shipments that never arrived. Suppliers complain about accounts suddenly closed. One night, she overhears Isaiah and Cole talking near the walk-in freezer. Hayes is bleeding money, Isaiah mutters. Lost 3 properties this week. Banks are pulling his credit lines. Boss works fast when he wants someone gone, Cole replies. Think the girl knows? She's not stupid. Doesn't mean she knows. Amara presses herself against the wall, heart hammering. She shouldn't be hearing this. But she can't stop listening. What happens when Hayes figures out who's behind it? Isaiah asks. Cole's laugh is cold. Then it gets messy. That night, after her last song, Amara finds Dante waiting by the stage. The restaurant is empty except for Marco wiping down tables and pretending not to watch. "Walk with me," Dante says. It's not a request. They step into the alley behind Bella Vista. November air bites through her thin jacket. Dante lights a cigarette, offers her one. She shakes her head. "You've been listening," he says. Not accusing, just stating fact. "Hard not to. You want to know how close we are?" "Yes." He takes a long drag, smoke curling into the night. Hayes is drowning. Lost half his assets. His partners are turning on him. Another month, maybe 2, and he'll be finished. And then he disappears. Amara's stomach twists. "You mean you'll kill him?" Dante meets her eyes. "I mean he'll disappear. What happens during that disappearance? That's between him and God. I didn't ask for this. You asked for answers. I gave them. You asked who destroyed your father. I told you. Now I'm finishing what he started." Dante flicks ash into the gutter. "You want me to stop?" The question hangs in the cold air. Amara thinks about her father. The way he used to play, the way he used to laugh, the way he sits now in a wheelchair staring at walls and swallowing pills that barely touch the pain. She thinks about Sterling Hayes shaking hands with the man who ran them off the road. About the empty eyes in that photograph. "No," she whispers. "I don't want you to stop." Dante nods slowly. "Then keep playing. Keep your head down. And when it's over, you'll know." He turns to leave. "Why are you doing this?" Amara calls after him. "Really, it's not just guilt." Dante pauses, back to her, shoulders tight. "Your father gave me something I didn't deserve," he says quietly. "A chance to be seen as more than what I am. He looked at me, a criminal, a killer, and chose mercy." He glances back, and for once his mask is gone. "I never forgot that, and I never will." Then he walks away, and the alley swallows him whole. When justice lives outside the law, who decides what's right? Drop your thoughts below. The text comes at 2 in the morning. Amara's phone buzzes on her nightstand, dragging her from restless sleep. She fumbles for it, eyes blurry, heart already racing. Unknown number. "Don't come to work tomorrow. Stay home. Lock your doors. D." She's fully awake now, adrenaline spiking through her veins. She tries calling back. It rings once, then disconnects. 3 more texts follow in rapid succession. Hayes knows. It's going to get loud. "You're safe. I made sure. But stay inside." Amara sits up, pulse hammering. Across the room, her father's violin case leans against the wall. Outside, the city hums its usual soundtrack. Sirens, traffic, voices drifting up from the street. Everything feels normal. Everything feels wrong. She doesn't sleep the rest of the night. By dawn, her phone explodes with notifications. News alerts, social media posts, messages from Marco asking if she's seen the news. She clicks the first link. Prominent businessman Sterling Hayes under federal investigation for racketeering, fraud, and conspiracy. The article is everywhere, every network, every site. Photos of federal agents raiding Hayes' office. Footage of him being escorted out in handcuffs, face pale, eyes wild. But that's not what stops her heart. It's the follow-up article posted an hour later. Sterling Hayes found dead in holding cell, apparent suicide. Amara reads it 3 times. 4. The words don't change. Hayes is dead. Not missing. Not disappeared. Dead. And, according to the report, he hung himself with a bedsheet before his arraignment. Her hands shake so badly she drops the phone. It rings immediately. "Dante." She answers. "Did you?" "No." His voice is flat. "I didn't have to." Then how? Hayes had enemies. Lots of them. Men who didn't want him talking to federal agents. Men who knew what he knew. A pause. "Prison's a dangerous place, Amara. People die there all the time." She can't speak. Can't breathe. "It's over," Dante says quietly. "Your father's safe. You're safe. Hayes will never hurt anyone again. You set this up. I gave the FBI everything they needed to take him down legally." What happened after? He exhales slowly. "That's not on me. But it is. They both know it." "I need to see you," Amara whispers. "Not today. Let the dust settle. Play tonight. Business as usual. We'll talk after." He hangs up. Amara sits in the early morning light, wrapped in blankets, staring at her phone. Sterling Hayes is dead. The man who destroyed her father is gone. Justice, or something like it, has been served. So why does she feel hollow? That evening, she goes to Bella Vista despite Dante's warning to stay home. She needs to play, needs to feel something other than this cold, empty relief. The restaurant is buzzing. Everyone's talking about Hayes, the arrest, the death, the conspiracy theories already spreading like wildfire. Dante isn't there, but Isaiah is. He approaches her before she takes the stage, voice low. Boss wants you to have this. He hands her another envelope. Thinner this time. Inside is a check. More money than she's ever seen. Enough to cover her father's medical bills for years. Enough to move somewhere safe. Enough to start over. And a note, handwritten. Your father was right. Music connects people. Even people like me. Play well tonight. You've earned it. D. Amara's eyes burn. She takes the stage, tucks the violin under her chin. And for the first time in weeks, she doesn't play pain or rage or grief. She plays gratitude. Fragile, complicated, blood-stained gratitude. The crowd applauds when she finishes, but she barely hears them, because in the back booth, the one that's always reserved, a man in a dark suit sits alone. Dante. He doesn't clap, doesn't smile. He just lifts his glass in silent salute. And for a moment, in a world built on violence and compromise, they understand each other perfectly. Justice came, but at what cost? Share this story if you believe some debts can only be paid in blood. The file sits between them like a confession. 2 months have passed since Hayes died. 2 months of Amara playing to sold-out crowds. 2 months of tips that turned into a savings account. 2 months of her father smiling again. Actually smiling, because the pain is managed and the future doesn't look like a cliff anymore. But tonight, Dante called her to the back office again. And this time, the envelope isn't about Sterling Hayes. It's about him. I want you to understand something, Dante says, voice low and careful. What I did for your father, it doesn't make me good. Amara sits across from him, hands folded, waiting. I've hurt people, he continues. Killed people. Ruined lives because it was profitable or necessary or just convenient. I'm not a hero, Amara. I'm a criminal who got sentimental about a musician who showed me kindness I didn't deserve. Why are you telling me this? Because you look at me differently now, like I'm something I'm not. His eyes are hard, and I need you to stop. I don't look at you any differently. Yes, you do. You look at me like I'm redeemable, like one good deed erases the rest. He opens the file, spreads photos across the desk. These are people I've destroyed. Competitors. Witnesses. Anyone who got in my way. Amara's stomach turns. The photos are brutal. Crime scenes, grieving families, lives shattered. Why are you showing me this? So you remember who you're thanking. Dante's voice cracks, just slightly. Your father forgave me once, but he didn't know the full extent of what I'd done. You do now. Amara stares at the photos, at the evidence of a man who's built an empire on suffering. Then she looks up. My father knew, she says quietly. Dante freezes. He knew exactly who you were, what you'd done, and he chose mercy anyway. Amara's voice is steady now, not because he thought you deserved it, but because he believed people could change. That one act of grace could plant a seed. That's naive. Maybe. But you're here, aren't you? Showing me this. Trying to push me away. Trying to make sure I don't mistake you for something you're not. She leans forward. That's not the action of a man who's given up on being better. Dante's jaw works. His hands curl into fists on the desk. I can't undo what I've done. No one's asking you to, but you can stop adding to it. It's not that simple. It never is. Silence stretches between them, heavy loaded, aching. Finally, Dante speaks, voice barely above a whisper. I've started the process. Transferring assets, dissolving partnerships, getting out. He meets her eyes. It'll take time, years, maybe, and it'll be dangerous. People don't just walk away from this life. But you're trying. I'm trying. Amara feels something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, exactly. Not absolution, but something close to hope. Then that's enough, she says. For now. Dante exhales slowly, tension bleeding from his shoulders. Your father would have liked you, he says, almost smiling. You've got his stubborn streak. He'd like knowing you're trying. Maybe. Amara stands, preparing to leave. But she pauses at the door. Dante, yeah. Thank you. For everything. For the truth. For the justice. For the chance to play again. Her voice thickens. My father's not in pain anymore. I'm not drowning anymore. That's because of you. He doesn't respond. Just nods once, sharp and final. As she walks out, she hears him speak behind her. Play something happy tonight, Amara. We could all use it. She smiles despite herself. I'll try. Can a killer be redeemed? Can one act of grace change a life built on violence? Tell us what you believe in the comments. 6 months later, the stage is bigger than she ever imagined. Lincoln Center. The name alone used to make her hands shake. Now she stands in the wings, violin in hand, listening to the murmur of 3,000 people settling into their seats. Her father sits front row, center, wheelchair parked in the accessible section, hands folded in his lap, eyes bright with tears he's too proud to shed. Beside him, somehow impossibly, sits Dante Moreau. No guards, no entourage, just a man in a dark suit, hands resting on his knees, face carefully neutral. When their eyes met earlier backstage, he nodded once. She nodded back. No words needed. The stage manager touches her shoulder. 2 minutes, Ms. Brooks. Amara takes a breath. Her hands are steady now. The violin feels right under her chin. Not her father's old instrument anymore, but a new one. A gift from an anonymous donor who everyone knows isn't anonymous at all. The curtain rises. Light floods the stage, warm and blinding. The audience hushes. Amara steps forward into the spotlight. For a moment, she's back at Bella Vista, poor, desperate, begging to play for tips. For a moment, she sees Dante's amused smile, hears the laughter, feels the glass cutting her thumb. Then she lifts the bow. The first note is perfect. The second is transcendent. By the third, the audience forgets to breathe. She plays everything: hunger and hope, loss and redemption, rage and grace. She plays her father's laugh before the accident. She plays Dante's guilt, trying to become something like goodness. She plays the long nights and the longer mornings and the moment she realized survival could transform into living. The melody builds, climbs, soars. In the front row, her father closes his eyes, tears streaming freely now. Beside him, Dante sits perfectly still. But his hands, those hands that have destroyed so much, grip the armrests until his knuckles go white. And when the final note falls, when silence fills the hall like held breath, something shifts. The audience erupts. Standing ovation. Applause like thunder. Flowers thrown onto the stage. Critics already typing reviews that will call her a prodigy, a phenomenon, a voice for a generation. But Amara only sees 2 people. Her father, sobbing with pride, and Dante, standing slowly, clapping with hands, are learning, finally, painfully, what it means to build instead of destroy. Their eyes meet across the distance. He smiles. Small. Real. Then he turns and walks toward the exit, disappearing into the crowd before anyone can recognize him. Amara watches him go, violin still in hand, heart full of something complicated and earned. He'll never be clean, never be forgiven by everyone he's hurt. But tonight, in this moment, he's a man who chose to plant a seed instead of salt the earth. And that, for now, is enough. The curtain falls to the sound of her name being chanted. Amara Brooks. Not the poor waitress anymore. Not the girl who begged for tips. Just a musician. Just a daughter. Just someone who learned that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it plays. The blood on Dante's sleeve is still wet when Amara walks into his office. She stops in the doorway, violin case gripping tight in her hand. He's standing by the window, back to her, phone pressed to his ear. His voice is low, clipped deadly. I don't care what it costs. Find him. Bring him to me. Alive. He hangs up, turns, sees her. For 3 seconds, neither speaks. Then Amara's eyes drop to his sleeve, the dark stains spreading across expensive fabric. Is that yours? She asks. No. Whose? Dante's jaw tightens. Someone who thought they could warn Hayes before I finished him. The air in the room turns to ice. He's not dead yet, Amara says slowly. Hayes, you said he was finished, but he's still alive. For now. What does that mean? Dante walks to his desk, pours 2 glasses of whiskey with steady hands despite the blood. He offers her one. She doesn't take it. It means Hayes knows I'm coming, knows what I've done to his empire, and he's trying to run. Dante drinks both glasses, one after the other. But men like him, they don't run far. They have too much pride, too much ego. So you're going to kill him. I'm going to make him pay for what he did to your father. Yes. Amara sets the violin case down carefully, like it might shatter. Her voice comes out stronger than she feels. I want to be there. Dante's head snaps up. Absolutely not. He destroyed my family. I deserve to face him. You deserve to stay far away from this. What I do, what happens when I find him, you don't want to see that. You don't get to decide what I want. I'm trying to protect you. From what? The truth. Amara steps closer, eyes blazing. You think I don't know what you're capable of? You think I haven't pieced together exactly what kind of man you are? Then you know why you can't be there. I know why I have to be. They stare at each other across the desk. 2 people bound by violence neither of them asked for, but both have learned to carry. Finally, Dante speaks, voice rough. If you come, you see everything. No turning away. No closing your eyes. You understand? Understand. And afterward, you live with it. Whatever happens in that room, you carry it for the rest of your life. I'm already carrying it. At least this way, I get to look him in the eye. Dante studies her for a long moment. Then he reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a file, thicker than the others, bound with string. This is everything. Every crime Hayes committed. Every life he destroyed. Every person he paid off to keep it quiet. He slides it across the desk. Read it. All of it. And if you still want to come when I find him, I'll take you. Amara picks up the file with trembling hands. When will that be? 48 hours. Maybe less. Dante's phone buzzes. He glances at it, expression hardening. Isaiah found him. He's hiding in a warehouse near the docks. Then let's go now. Not yet. I want him scared. I want him to know I'm coming and have time to think about why. Dante's smile is cold and precise. Fear's a kind of justice, too. Amara feels something twist in her chest. Not quite agreement, not quite horror. Just recognition. That night, she reads the file cover to cover. Every page is worse than the last. Hayes didn't just destroy her father. He destroyed dozens of lives. Witnesses who disappeared, competitors who had accidents, families who lost everything because he wanted more. By the time she finishes, dawn is breaking outside her window. Her phone rings. Dante, it's time. I'm sending a car. I'll be ready. Amara. His voice softens just slightly. You can still change your mind. No one would blame you. She thinks about her father in his wheelchair. About the violin she almost never played again. About 2 years of wondering why. I'm not changing my mind. Then I'll see you soon. The car arrives 20 minutes later, black, unmarked, windows tinted dark. Isaiah drives. Cole sits passenger. Neither speaks to her. They drive through the city as it wakes. Delivery trucks, early commuters, street cleaners washing away the night's sins. Everything looks normal. Everything is about to change. The warehouse sits at the edge of the industrial district, surrounded by chain link and graffiti. Dante's already there, standing beside another black car, arms crossed. He watches Amara climb out, searches her face for doubt. Finds none. Last chance, he says. I'm here. He nods once. Then he turns and walks toward the warehouse entrance. Isaiah and Cole flank him. Amara follows, heart hammering so hard she can hear it in her ears. Inside, the warehouse is cavernous and cold. Exposed pipes, concrete floors, the smell of rust and old oil. And in the center, tied to a chair, sits Sterling Hayes. He looks smaller than his photographs. Older. His expensive suit is wrinkled, face bruised, one eye swollen shut. But when he sees Dante, he straightens. You son of a... Dante punches him. Once. Hard. Hayes' head snaps back, blood spraying. You don't get to talk yet, Dante says calmly. Then he steps aside and gestures to Amara. But she does. Hayes remaining good, eye focuses on her. Recognition dawns slowly, then widens into panic. "You," he chokes out. "You're Brooke's daughter." Amara walks forward until she's standing directly in front of him. Close enough to see the fear in his eyes. Close enough to smell the sweat and terror. "My father played violin," she says quietly. "He was kind. He believed in mercy. He believed people could change." Her voice hardens. "You proved him wrong." "I didn't. I never meant." "You were to hit on an innocent man because you thought he might talk. You destroyed his body, his career, his life, and you slept fine afterward." Hayes' face crumples. "Please, I'll give you anything. Money, property, whatever you want. I want my father to walk again. Can you give me that?" Silence. "I want the 2 years we lost. Can you give me that?" Hayes starts crying. Actual tears streaming down his battered face. Amara feels nothing. No satisfaction. No pity. Just cold, clear certainty. She turns to Dante. "Do what you need to do. I've seen enough." Dante's expression flickers. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. "You sure?" "I'm sure. I don't need to watch him die. I just needed him to know why." She walks toward the exit, footsteps echoing in the vast space. Behind her, Hayes starts begging, pleading, promising. She doesn't look back. Outside, the sun is fully up now, warming the cold morning. Amara leans against the car and breathes. 5 minutes later, Dante emerges. His hands are clean. His expression is unreadable. "It's done," he says simply. "Good." They stand there in silence. Two people who've crossed lines they can never uncross. "Do you regret coming?" Dante asks. Amara thinks about it. Really thinks. "No," she says finally. "I needed to face him, to let him see what he took from me. But I didn't need to watch him pay. That's on you, not me." Dante nods slowly. "You're stronger than I thought. I'm my father's daughter. He taught me when to fight and when to walk away." She meets his eyes. This was both. "What now?" "Now I go home. I practice. I audition for Lincoln Center like I've been planning." She manages a small, tired smile. "I live. Really live. Because he doesn't get to take that from me, too." Dante extends his hand. She shakes it. "Your father would be proud," he says. "So would yours." "Maybe." He almost laughs. "Maybe." Isaiah drives her home. She watches the city pass by the window. People going to work, living their lives, completely unaware that justice just happened in a warehouse by the docks. When she gets home, her father is awake, sitting by the window. "Morning, baby girl," he says. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Went for a drive." He studies her face with eyes that see too much. "You okay?" Amara kisses his forehead. "I am now. And for the first time in 2 years, she means it. When justice lives in shadows, when mercy meets its limits, what would you do? Tell us in the comments below. 6 months later, the stage is bigger than she ever imagined. Lincoln Center. The name alone used to make her hands shake. Now she stands in the wings, violin in hand, listening to the murmur of 3,000 people settling into their seats. Her father sits front row, center, wheelchair parked in the accessible section, hands folded in his lap, eyes bright with tears he's too proud to shed. Beside him, somehow impossibly, sits Dante Moreau. No guards, no entourage, just a man in a dark suit, hands resting on his knees, face carefully neutral. When their eyes met earlier backstage, he nodded once. She nodded back. No words needed. The stage manager touches her shoulder. 2 minutes, Ms. Brooks. Amara takes a breath. Her hands are steady now. The violin feels right under her chin. Not her father's old instrument anymore, but a new one. A gift from an anonymous donor who everyone knows isn't anonymous at all. The curtain rises. Light floods the stage, warm and blinding. The audience hushes. Amara steps forward into the spotlight. For a moment, she's back at Bella Vista, poor, desperate, begging to play for tips. For a moment, she sees Dante's amused smile, hears the laughter, feels the glass cutting her thumb. Then she lifts the bow. The first note is perfect. The second is transcendent. By the third, the audience forgets to breathe. She plays everything: hunger and hope, loss and redemption, rage and grace. She plays her father's laugh before the accident. She plays Dante's guilt, trying to become something like goodness. She plays the long nights and the longer mornings, and the moment she realized survival could transform into living. The melody builds, climbs, soars. In the front row, her father closes his eyes, tears streaming freely now. Beside him, Dante sits perfectly still. But his hands, those hands that have destroyed so much, grip the armrests until his knuckles go white. And when the final note falls, when silence fills the hall like held breath, something shifts. The audience erupts. Standing ovation. Applause like thunder. Flowers thrown onto the stage. Critics already typing reviews that will call her a prodigy, a phenomenon, a voice for a generation. But Amara only sees two people. Her father, sobbing with pride, and Dante, standing slowly, clapping with hands that are learning, finally, painfully, what it means to build instead of destroy. Their eyes meet across the distance. He smiles. Small. Real. She bows. Once. Deep. An acknowledgement. A thank you. A goodbye to the version of herself who walked into Bella Vista 6 months ago with nothing but desperation and a dream. When she rises, Dante is already moving toward the exit. He doesn't wait for the crowd. Doesn't linger for recognition. He simply leaves the way he came, quietly, deliberately, choosing to disappear into the night rather than claim credit for the light. That's how Amara knows he's really changing. Not because he's good now. He'll never be clean. The blood on his hands doesn't wash away with one act of grace. But because he's learning that redemption isn't about being seen. It's about stepping back so someone else can shine. Backstage, reporters wait. Cameras flash. People want interviews, want to know her story, want to package her trauma into something digestible and inspiring. She gives them the edited version. The one about a girl who loved music, lost it, and found it again through courage and chance. She doesn't mention Dante Moreau, doesn't mention Sterling Hayes, doesn't mention warehouses or blood or the price of justice. Some stories aren't meant for stages. Some truths live in silence. Later, after the crowds disperse and the venue empties, Amara finds a single envelope waiting in her dressing room. No name, no return address. Inside, a note in familiar handwriting. You played like your father tonight. Like someone who understands that music isn't about perfection. It's about truth. Thank you for reminding me what grace sounds like. I won't forget again. D. Beneath the note, a cashier's check. Enough to cover her father's medical care for years. Enough to ensure she never has to choose between music and survival again. And at the bottom, one final line. This is the last envelope. After this, we're even. Live well, Amara Brooks. You've earned it. She reads it 3 times. Then she folds it carefully and tucks it into her violin case. Even. They're even. A life for a life. Justice for mercy. Blood for music. The scales balanced in ways that will never make sense to anyone but them. Her father wheels himself into the dressing room, face glowing. Ready to go home, baby girl. Amara tucks the envelope away, smiles at the man who taught her everything about strength and grace. Yeah, Dad. Let's go home. They leave through the back exit, away from cameras and questions. The city spreads out before them, lights glittering, millions of stories unfolding in the dark. Somewhere out there, Dante Moreau is dismantling his empire piece by piece, choosing a harder path than the one he's walked his whole life. Somewhere out there, Sterling Hayes is nothing but ash and memory. And here, in this moment, Amara Brooks is just a daughter and her father, heading home after the performance of a lifetime. The violin case bumps against her leg as they move through the cool November night. Inside it, strings wait to be played again. Songs wait to be born. Stories wait to be told. Because that's what music does. It takes pain and transforms it. Takes silence and fills it. Takes broken people and reminds them they're still capable of creating something beautiful. Her father reaches over, squeezes her hand. I'm proud of you, he says. Not just for tonight. For everything. For surviving. For fighting. For playing again. Amara squeezes back, throat tight with emotion. I learned from the best. They ride home in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from people who've weathered storms together and lived to see sunrise. And when Amara finally sleeps that night, Violin resting safely in its case beside her bed, she dreams not of warehouses or blood or revenge. She dreams of stages, of crowds, of music that heals instead of wounds. She dreams of becoming exactly who her father always believed she could be, not despite the darkness, but because she walked through it and chose light anyway.